What's up, my loves? It's your girl Diamond, and I'm back with my own review of the Belle Collective. I am extremely late, but bear with me, and I'm just gonna see if I can breeze by this. Okay, so it starts off with Gucci and JJ having a small conversation about JJ's mom moving in, and JJ is hoping that Gucci and his mom will get along. And Gucci is trying to wrap her mind around being told that his mom is moving in. For what reason? And why couldn't you tell her no? He can't tell his mama no because he's a mama's boy. And as soon as his mom come in, she's blowing a horn, she's loud. We see where JJ gets his personality from. His mother is a beautiful woman. She looks very active and vibrant for her age. Don't know how old she is actually, but JJ's hope that his mom and his wife under the same roof was going to be smooth, was going to be cool because he wanted the best of both worlds. He wanted his mom to cook, clean, make his favorite meals while he got Gucci, being his sexy wife and everything, but that's not going to happen. You guys are supposed to be empty nesters, doing things your way, but yet when your mom comes in, you lay down the rules, you lay down certain days that you do certain things, and she says, nope, not gonna happen. You try and tell her about your rug, don't mess this rug up, don't get nothing on it. She's not gonna be in that room, but she's telling you she has to have her coffee at a certain time, and if that disturbs you, oh well, don't like your coffee maker, want a new coffee maker, and this isn't your house anymore. This is our house, meaning your mother's, Gucci's, and JJ. I mean, he couldn't even cuss around his own mom, even in his own home. So, yeah, JJ, what you thought was going to be a happy ending or a new beginning, this is going to be a great time. No, you finna turn into a 10-year-old boy in your own home by your mama. And Gucci was like, I'm just gonna sit back and enjoy the ride because she ain't coming after me. She's coming after him. And the reason why his mom is moving in is because she wanted to move away. From where? From who? If she wanted a vacation, you could have set up an easy way of sending her somewhere, Hawaii, Cabo. She could have, I don't know why she should live with you for that. But this is a storyline, a funny storyline, and I cannot wait to see how it unfolds. But moving on from there, we get Latrice and Cliff. They have a dinner to discuss the public embarrassment that happened when she was at the bar. He popped up on her and scolded her like a child, and she wanted to tell him we have to have boundaries and respect. Now, considering the fact that she was embarrassed as she should be, I'm thinking that she needs to also carry that same energy of how he treats her when the cameras are off. So she opened up with having to apologize for a few things, and I'm stuck on what is she apologizing for. So they had an agreement to check in on one another if they was to go to a club or to a bar, but I feel like that only applies to Latrice. I don't think Cliff checks in on her on where he goes, but he expects for her to do the same thing. I mean, yes, it was a last minute decision. You went to the bar. My bad, didn't mean to tell you. It still was not warranted of him to come up to you and scold you like a child as if you snuck out the house. You're not a grown adult. Then he already knows where you go at all times anyway. You said he tracks your location. Like he probably look at your list of areas that you normally go to, and when you don't go to those areas, he finds it a problem. He wants to investigate. Like that's manipulation, isolation, knowing where she's at all times, and before she goes anywhere, she has to ask your permission, which is what he said when they had that argument at M Bar. But he's not mad that she went to the bar without telling him. He's mad that she decided to go to the bar with Josh because apparently when Josh was in the kitchen with Cliff and Latrice, him being very vocal and honest about the way Cliff treats Latrice, all the way down to Cliff ear hustling their conversation in Latrice's separate bedroom, he kicked Josh out for that. I believe that that's also the same time that he got in Josh's face, threatening his job and everything else. Why Josh was emotional with Latrice about is his job secure, that he don't ever want to be in that situation again. So, yeah, all of that transpired probably all within the same day. Cliff was like, how could you do that to me? How could you go hang out with the enemy? But, Cliff, Josh was her friend before she married you. And you mean to tell me she can't have no friends? You want her to be her only friend, her only confidant, alone being her husband? Yeah, no. It's giving manipulation and isolation. I get it. Josh overstepped his boundaries by talking about you, but what he said that's been shown about you, we already caught a glimpse of it already. So I feel like your true colors were exposed and you wanted to place that blame on Josh for doing it and you want Latrice to follow in line and she didn't. I mean, this entire conversation, she's trying to tell Cliff on what he did wrong, but he won't let her talk. He's the main one talking. All this bullshit from he's from a different cloth, he runs the household, he's a man, he'll have to understand how certain things are. And he didn't want her to have a rebuttal. He didn't want her to have a separate argument that's different from him. He wanted her to just agree and just say, I'm sorry, because Cliff don't think he did anything wrong. Cliff think that he was justified for pulling up on the bar, scolding her like a child, putting his finger in her face, talking all types of shit, calling her all kind of names because she went out with a friend that talked about you. Yeah, don't like that at all. So by the time she does get a chance to speak, he's over it. He's done with the conversation and he don't want to talk about it. But it's kind of like you didn't get anything resolved from this point. And the reason why they're having communication issues is because you don't let her talk. You keep on cutting her off. She can't say Cliff was wrong without saying Josh was wrong because I feel like that's the fact. Josh was wrong for talking about Cliff, but Josh wasn't wrong for what he said. He was telling the truth about Cliff. Cliff was wrong on how he handled it. So in the confessional, Cliff talks about how Latrice avoids confrontation. She avoids dealing with issues. She'll rather go to sleep, wake up the next day, and hopefully it's all over. She'll never have to deal with it. That's the truth. I'll give him that. Latrice hate being confronted. She gets fidgety. She gets uncomfortable. She has a nervous laugh because she's afraid of expressing her true feelings. Like with Gucci, she couldn't completely stand on her ground and say, yes, I'm sorry that I hurt you. Yes, you're my friend, but I did a business transaction. It wasn't meant to hurt you. When it comes to Cliff, hanging out with Josh, she can't be upfront and say, you know what? I understand how that made you feel, but you also hurt his feelings when you did that, and that's still my friend. She can't express that without hurting the other person's feelings because Latrice has a people pleasing trait. I carry that trait. I don't like being confronted. I don't like being questioned. I get backed into a corner, and whenever I don't get the space to express what I really feel, I'm defensive. I just say things because I'm tired of everybody on my back about certain things. That's where Latrice is. So he's spewing all this nonsense, and when it came down to boundaries, because he has boundaries in his friendships. No. Boundaries in his siblings, boundaries in his business. So I feel like we need to improve boundaries in our marriage. He tells her, write down your little boundaries. I'll go over them and I'll approve which ones that I want to do. No, you're going to approve all of them because the one boundary you can't seem to have or can't seem to understand is privacy. Latrice moved out of the bedroom to get privacy from you, and you're ear hustling on a conversation about you, which you should not have been listening to. So, yeah, there's some boundaries you need to implement, Latrice, for Cliff to understand because I feel like he thinks he can do whatever he wants to do to you, and you're supposed to just sit there and take it because you want to prove that you're this perfect wife. You can, deal with the worst of the worst so the best can come out later. I don't understand why. Then when it comes down to you be treated like an equal, he's telling you, no, you're not equal to him. I mean, yeah, women have equal rights, women have equality, but not in your marriage, you don't. I mean, he'll give you credit for being a beautiful, successful woman, but you can't have that same boss mentality in this marriage. I'm the man, I'm the boss, I run the household. When he's dead and gone, then you can step in, which is a crock of bullshit to me. In the confessional, she feels like I worked my ass off to get to where I'm at. If I'm not equal to you, I'm above you. Keep that same energy in the scene with Cliff. Tell him that. Step, put your pussy on the table, Latrice. You go toe to toe with the girls with no problem. Go toe to toe with your husband. Don't give a fuck about what he says. What he gonna do? Leave you? I doubt it. I doubt Cliff is going to walk away from you because you stood your ground. but he's making you in fear of doing that because you don't want him to leave, as we find out down the line. Then he want to sound more arrogant that he made Latrice. He made her to where she is right now. Like he paved the way for her to be the successful woman, as if she didn't do that on her own. So that conversation went nowhere. She said she'll see him at home. I wouldn't even go home. Latrice, you escaped to find peace. You escaped to find serenity. You can't even find that in your own home. Girl, I suggest you go to a hotel or find you another house. I have no idea. Because the fact that you don't even feel space in your own house, it's crazy to me. Latrice, I'm sorry. Leave old Blowfish away. Leave him, please. He don't see best for you. He sees less of you, but he wants you to be for him. He don't want you to be for him no more than yourself, and you are not recognizing that about yourself. Moving on. We get Gucci, Marie, and Nikesha. They all meet up. Gucci is happy to have some interaction with the other girls because living at home with JJ and his mom is too much. I mean, she's enjoying um his mom coming after JJ and not her, but they both got loud voices. So I gotta get out of there. Gucci tells the girls about JJ's mama moving in, and at first they didn't get along, but now they're better. And JJ needs to come out and say he's a mama's boy, which we see. Marie ends up telling Akeisha about what happened when Glenn popped up on Gucci, Letitia, and Marie when Marie was signing over a condo for Letitia. That whole dramatic scene of Glenn popping up, Marie screaming and hollering, that whole scene. Now, watching how Gucci and Marie are telling everybody, telling all their business to Akeisha when she just sat down. Akeisha, I don't even know if Akeisha said, "How are you guys doing?" They just jumped in and started telling her their business. Now, Marie, how you gonna tell Letitia's business to Akeisha when you know Akeisha and Letitia are not in a good place right now? I hope you have that same energy of why are you telling everybody my business, even though we see their business on camera, but you're supposed to be Letitia's friend. And you telling her business to somebody else who she's not in a good place with? Even Akeisha was like, oh wow, I'm sorry, I'm gonna pray for her because she knows that her and Marie are not in a good place. But I feel bad for her that Glenn popped up on her like that. So after that, Marie brings up Latrice because she received an invite to her upcoming wig launch, and Marie goes off as she normally does when it comes to Latrice. Akeisha can understand why Marie would feel like that because if you and her are not in a good place, why would you support her business? I understand that. But Marie always goes a little bit left for me when she talks about Latrice. I get it. You don't like her in the story, but you calling her bipolar, talking about how she needs to be in your mental health institution. She's a snake in the grass. She can't be trusted. It could be said about you a little bit right now, Marie, because you're telling your friend's business to somebody else who don't really like her or is not really in a good place with. So you might want to be careful and be quiet. Then Gucci. Yeah, I'm getting tired of you. I'm right there, Gucci, because you falling behind Marie's energy and irritation and annoyance for Latrice when you want to come out and say, right, daddy not finished raising her. When you guys all know what Latrice goes through when it comes to Cliff, you know she suffers from daddy issues. Y'all know what you all know, Gucci. You know. But then you want to go low and say daddy not finished raising her? Come on, Gucci. I guess Gucci is still in her mad phase because she said it last episode after Latrice told her why she did what she did. She said, okay, I'm going to stay mad until I don't want to be mad no more, even though it's resolved. Yeah, this is petty. Gucci, let it go, okay? You did not meet Latrice's requirements of finding her a building, and you are not even defending the fact of did you show her more than one building? Because that's pretty much what we're going off of. You only shown her one building. It wasn't what she wanted. You obviously didn't have enough time for her. So she went and saw another realtor and closed on a building. Girl, let it go. I was on your side, Gucci. You were needed an opportunity for a conversation because you guys are friends. But after that, girl, stop. Let it go. It's not that serious. And did she say anything else bad about you other than you focusing on your workout business, which you have. Then you want to throw shade of her vending machine not being used or being recalled, her one little vending machine. It's just like, girl, stop. How are you guys friends? And this is all it took for you to just switch on her like that. Just talk crap about her. Very low crap, like very low below the belt crap. Like this is like, I can't. I can't get this. You gonna have to let it go for real, Gucci. Please let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Like you. Then this episode, you going toe to toe with Selena. Gucci, what's wrong? I don't. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Glenn. Glenn is meeting up with Cliff for a conversation I did not understand. I can't even understand Cliff without subtitles, and Glenn is just stupid. Glenn is really not bright, cause Glenn talking about how Letitia's acting funny, she's acting all uppity, she's changed. Obviously, the social media, the show has changed her, and he's mad that he's not along for the ride. He's not getting the same attention. He's getting negative attention because of what you did. He expected for him and Letitia's marriage to get back on a better footing after the DNA test results. He's not the pappy, but Glenn, the fact that you had to put Letitia through that is still something not easily to forgive. You had an affair with another woman that could have potentially had your child. She can't get over that part. Yeah, you're not the pappy. Great, congratulations. But you still had an affair with another woman. You are still communicating inappropriately with other women. Like that's the part that you're not getting. You not being the pappy does not absolve everything you put Letitia through. Hence why she's moving, trying to get peace. But we all know Letitia and Glenn, this is a storyline. They're still together. So this is just a dragged out, you know, oh my God, I don't know if I'm gonna stay. I don't know if I'm gonna go. I love him. I want to be for him. That's all this is, okay? Um, then Glenn, who's not bright in the head, he admitted of putting a tracking device in Letitia's truck to record the conversation about Marie putting a condo in her name for her. Bruh, you saying how this is between you and Cliff, you are mic'd up. There are multiple cameramen around you. You're at a restaurant. Like, Mississippi is small. People can recognize you guys. And you're saying this is between us, please. And Cliff giving him advice about if she's, trying to find a new place, that could be a sign to move on, bro. She ready to be single. Cliff, you are in no position to give advice to nobody because you're not going to take it yourself. If Latrice has decided to move on from you, move out in her own place, are you going to accept that? Are you going to take it as, oh, she ready for me to be done with her, or she ready to be done with me? She ready to be single? No, you're going to fight. You're going to fight like crazy, do stupid shit like Glenn does. I mean, you've already acted that way when you want to pull up on her. You want to listen to a conversation. So, yeah, Cliff, you are in no position to tell anybody about reading the signs. Take action, bruh. She ain't the one. Find better. Are you gonna do the same thing? I doubt it. Um, Glenn wants to change the generational cycle because his son is at that age where Glenn was when his parents separated and he didn't see his father for 2 decades. So he wanted to have a different way of showing his son that his parents can be better. They can be, working on their marriage and be a family. But to me, this whole thing about Glenn wondering how Letitia is moving is because he hasn't had sex. He hasn't had sex with Letitia since the reunion. He's been trying to keep himself together, not worry about sleeping with nobody, want to be good, and he got blue balls. Boy, if you don't go on Pornhub, find a sexy magazine, and do what you have to do, because I'm not hearing no other reason as to why you want Letitia back, other than you want some sex. You pent up, you frustrated. Like, you can get out my face with this shit. Then he told him dress like a woman. I don't know why. What was the point of that? But whatever. Moving on from there because that was just annoying to me. Latrice. Latrice has her mom over to bond. They bond over cooking, but also make sure Cliff has some food because he's complaining that she don't cook a lot and that she don't clean. But we have a maid for that. I have a maid to clean because I don't want to clean, and I have a chef to cook when I don't want to cook. I mean, if you're in the luxury of hiring folks to do shit for you that you don't want to do, I ain't against that at all. Because obviously, Latrice doesn't want to step into Betty Crocker, doesn't want to be the Susie Homemaker vibe. And obviously, Cliff don't even want to clean the bathroom himself because he think he don't have to do it. Since he work hard, he pays the bills, he can leave his clothes everywhere, and you're supposed to pick it up. Just like when he comes home, you're supposed to have a meal ready for him. As if you don't know where the pots and pans are. He don't have hands that he can figure out his own plate, his own food. Like her mom says, he ain't got no hands. He don't know what to do to feed himself. Yeah, that ain't gonna work. So bringing back to this perfect wife, this perfect marriage, Latrice don't want to take advice from no one. She feels like if she takes any advice, it's someone who's jealous of her situation. Latrice, number one, nobody, and I mean nobody, is jealous of your relationship and your marriage with Cliff. However, you do have to watch out for people who will give you bad advice because they don't want to see you in a happy relationship. I can understand that, but in this case, no. Nobody's jealous of your relationship with Cliff. And after that, um, her mom says, I raised you, then I let anybody dictate over you. And concerning the fact that you did marry a man 20 years older than you, he's set in his ways. Because he's the southern man set in the 1950s mindset of what a woman and a wife should be. And you, barely being 20 years old, don't know what you want to do with your life, ended up being a wife to someone like that. You haven't lived, you haven't experienced anything, and all of that was silenced, like swept under the rug because you became someone's wife. So she's struggling to keep that perfect image because she wants to be that perfect wife. Again, in the confessional, always telling us Cliff is a different kind of man. He's a good man, but he is a man of a certain time. Where in his time, women did not have businesses. Women did not balance being a wife, a mother, a businesswoman. Women just stayed at home, could clean, have babies, and be available for the man. And I'm like, no, ma'am. We're not in that time. We're in 2023 where a woman can balance that, could balance being a wife, balance being a mother, balance being a career woman. And you deserve to have that space of having fun and also being a wife. Like Cliff, I bet he has friends he goes out with from time to time when he gets off of work. So you are deserving to have some fun time as well. Then we get back to this equal, this equality. She said, listen, everything got to be 50-50. But it don't work that way for Latrice because he told her that they're not equal. She said, what you mean? I put as much work in my business, as much time in my business as you do yours, and I'm not your equal. Yeah, it shows a different side of Cliff. It shows that, he don't want you to grow. He don't want you to grow. He wants you to be stagnant. He don't want you to prosper. I did not raise you to bow down to no man. I did not bow down to your daddy. We fought a lot. We fought a lot. Even though your father told me to not work. I didn't work, end up having 6 kids. I don't want that life for you. So when she hears her mother and her father relationship, she sees the similarities. Now her mother ended up leaving her father, but she doesn't want to do that. She wants to take her vows seriously. She wants to do till death do us part, and leaving can get hard. So she feels like I don't want to be alone. I'd rather stay in a relationship that I don't feel happy in for the sake of me being married, and don't want him to leave her. So consider the fact that she does look at Cliff as a father figure, but it's in the form of her husband, Gross. She's in fear of him leaving her, just like her father left her, because she's worried about what she did not do to make sure her father stayed. She's worried about what she's not doing in order to keep Cliff from leaving. Latrice, you can do everything you're supposed to do under the sun to be this perfect wife, which never gonna happen, to be supportive, to be loving, caring. Because obviously Cliff felt like you wasn't there for him when you hung out with Josh, which is a crock of bullshit because she's always in the confessional talking about how perfect he is, how wonderful he is. You're saying she don't defend you, she don't support you. Oh, she supports you more than you need to, more than you need it. So You are dependent upon Cliff not leaving you because you want him here because you want to be alone. Latrice, you're kind of are alone. You moved out of the bedroom to get space because you wanted some peace. You wanted some alone time. But yet you don't want to experience that without him there. What would make sense? Being in a marriage where you don't feel happy because you don't want to be alone, or being alone and still being away, still finding ways of you being happy. You can find ways to being happy while being alone, but you rather suffer and not be alone. I don't like that at all. And her mother said, I raised you to not be no fool. You can love your husband, love him to death, just don't be no fool. My mother has told me that countless of times throughout my marriage. Love your husband to death, just don't be no fool. And I hear her loud and clear. I really do. I hear her. And her mother said he's not a bad person, he's a jealous person. Oh yeah, he is completely. The fact that he wants to know her whereabouts at all times, wonders who she's with, who she's seeing, absolutely. Now she did not think coming into this marriage that it was going to be perfect, but the reality is you dated an older man who's set in his ways. You are sacrificing your youth, your mindset, your mentality to keep this man happy when he doesn't do the same thing for you. So that's why she wants to go back and forth with figuring out how they can get their marriage in a better place before she has a child. But it goes back to what Akeisha said the last episode. Do you want to have kids, or is it because of the partner you're with you don't want to have kids? Like, that's what it all comes down to. If Latrice was to ever leave Cliff and she finds another man of her age, of her speed, of her likeness, I don't think that she'll have a problem not wanting children. I think she will want to, because it's a different feeling. She feels like she'll get stuck if she have kids with Cliff, but she doesn't want to get stuck. She doesn't want to feel unhappy with having children. But in the scene, she wanted to cry, but she told her mom, "I'm good." But her mom said, "I can't be happy when I'm gone. If I'm gone and you're not happy, that's not gonna work for me." But Latrice, you're gonna have to figure this out, sis. Figure it out. How long are you planning to waste your youth, your years with this man who don't have long to live? I'm sorry to say. But moving on. It was a meeting with Akeisha and her mother slash aunt. They're going over some inquiries about business because her mom is going to Italy. Her mom came looking like money. Her mom came looking like a woman with a job, a profession, because hello, she has a doctorate in psychiatry and anesthesia. She retired from anesthesia, still works in psychiatry, which is like amazing, and going over quarterly meetings, making sure the maintenance over the building is good because it's over 120 years old. That's history. And making sure that all of the Holly Foundation, all of the treasured items in business is still in good standings, because all of this legacy and fortune is for Akeisha to inherit soon. So this is why Akeisha wants to work so hard to bring back Fair Street. She wants to make it an arts and entertainment district to bring revenue, money into the city, black-owned businesses, job opportunities. Like, she wants to really give back. So then we find out more about Akeisha's background. Since Akeisha said that's her mother slash aunt because that is her biological father's sister, when Akeisha was growing up, without knowing who she really was, she would see these people who she did not know was family, because I think in the beginning her father did not acknowledge her because her father had an affair. She is the child of that affair. And when her father accepted her, as soon as her grandfather and the rest of his family looked at her, they said, "Oh, yeah, she's ours. She's a Holly. She belongs with us." Then it was a conversation of adopting. Her aunt gave the adoption papers to her biological mom. Don't know if her mom fought it, but apparently it was a sealed deal. So she became adopted into the Holly family, even though they looked at her no different. They accepted her with open arms and love. I was like, wow, that is beautiful. And just looking back on her story of how she grew up not knowing that she was a part of a huge family, and a family which has a multitude of businesses and foundations and legacies. It's a really amazing thing to see. I enjoyed it. It made me like Akeisha even more. And I want to see more. I can't wait to see more. So Glenn is in the studio dropping some music because him and Letitia connected over music. Apparently, when he was in his 20s, he had a rap name called Ghetto Prophet. When they showed a flashback of Glenn Young, he was in a music video. Was that Letitia next to him in the background being one of his dancers? I just want to know. But, he's trying to get his rhyme together. The producer's telling him, don't worry about the rhymes, focus on the pain. JJ, with his silly self, stops by, knowing that this is right up his alley. Just want to see what he's doing. I can't get the song out because it was so funny, but it's hilarious. Glenn, hang it up. You really trying to be a rapper at your age? Why aren't you working on the oil rigs? Why aren't you working on the boats? You have a definite leave of absence or something? I don't know. So Glenn is proud of what he produced. He poured his heart out in the song. And oh yeah, I already said in the beginning about how Glenn feels about his son becoming like him with his family and everything. I already said that part. Um, but I'm telling you, Glenn, you're worried about Letitia changing and moving. You need to work on how to prevent that. Work on what you need to admit. Take accountability for what you've done. I've already said it. You cannot act like all it took was a DNA test results to erase all the hurt and pain you put Letitia through, even though she's not going anywhere. Um, but Glenn talking about the song, JJ said, yeah, this song could have helped me out when he was going through his situation with Selena, because him and Selena were not in a good place for 3 years and wondering what's going to happen. The fact that JJ is remembering that there was a time where he was wondering if he could fix his situation with Selena while currently being married to Gucci says a lot. Almost in every scene, JJ is remembering how it was with Selena. And it goes off of, is JJ the one still in love with Selena? Because it cannot be Selena still in love with him. I think JJ is still pining over Selena after all these years. That's why he keeps on bringing up Cliff having his situation with her. Then you got Gucci talking about her. Whew, and that's gonna all implode this episode this Friday. Um, but then Glenn's phone decided to ring. He got a call that his grandmother was rushed to the hospital. Without thinking, he went straight to Letitia because him and Letitia grew up and she knows his grandmother and he wanted to have a shoulder to cry on. So wondering, what's he doing here? He told her his grandmother's rushed to the hospital and don't know what else happened. All he was told was that she wasn't eating, she wasn't responsive, she didn't get out of bed, and that's all he heard. So the fact that he did not think to call to find out, is she back at home? Is she cool? He went to Letitia for support, and Letitia decided to call the hospital or call his sister to find out more. This is fresh for him because he recently lost his uncle, and find out his grandmother's in the hospital. It might be too much for him to handle right now. So she calls his sister for an update. She had a fever, which led to her going to the hospital, but her fever broke when she got to the hospital. They sent her back home with pain medication, but there's talk about putting her in a hospice. When you hear about a hospice, that means that that person's final days is approaching, and it says grandma might not have that long to live. So Letitia walked over to him, seeing him crying. He's broken up and he doesn't want to imagine the worst. But apparently, this in a situation, it's hard not to. And Letitia feels sorry for him. She has sympathy for him because of everything that they're going through in their marriage, everything that they're going through with his grandma. It might be too much for him. I have experience in this. My husband lost both his grandmothers. And while I have experience, I have sympathy for Glenn, but I also am aware of, because of what we have seen in the relationship for Letitia and Glenn, they're likely to smash when things are good after getting over something that was not so good. I'm hoping that Letitia, while she is giving him support, giving him that love and care for, don't open up your bedroom to him. Don't give him none out of sympathy, because I feel like this can lead to you guys having sex, and he's going to take it as we're moving forward, we're getting back together because you were there for him when he was going through this pain for his grandmother. Like everything else you have been trying to find peace from, everything else you've been trying to forgive, all of that can go out the window when you support him for his grandmother. I'm sorry to say, but that's what I'm sensing. I'm sensing that this could also be a setup for you to have sex with him because he's in pain right now and he's going to want you to be there for him, support him. He needs you throughout his time of need. That means I want you to give me some good pussy and I'll give you some of this good dick I've been holding out for you. That's what I'm getting. I'm sorry to say it so bluntly. This is a very tough situation to be in, but I feel like Glenn might switch it up and play on Letitia's heartstrings for it. But, he wanted her to ride up with him to see his grandma. She says, of course, and she's going to be there no matter what. I'm like, just keep boundaries up. Set up, like you set up boundaries of having sex with him without protection. Keep that same boundaries. But y'all, that's all I have. I cannot wait for the new episode. I really want to know what Gucci was thinking about calling Selena an extra. I really want to know. But that's all I have. Please stay tuned for my next video, and I'm going to see you guys later. Bye.